夏天的时光稍纵即逝，转眼间联赛就已只剩4周征程，每一场比赛都显得尤为重要。破壳之后是选择沉寂还是继续前行？低谷之后是甘于黯淡还是厚积薄发？从春天的辉煌到夏天的困局，留给他们的时间又还有多少？告别老伙计，继续前行，金色的雨会再次落下吗？孤独领跑联盟一整个夏天，谁能阻止涅槃后所向披靡的凤凰？两大豪门再战长安。是捍卫荣耀，坚守主场，还是反客为主，上阵扬名？真正的好戏才正要开始。
The words are finally. Finally, we get to this match day where everything is going to be all right, where we have some of the biggest and boldest matches for you to kick off the day with RNG, LNG, EDG and FPX following up later in Shanghai. But we're in Beijing to kick things off in RNG's home arena, where many a player has come and gone, but now sitting with the strongest roster, as we're reminded by the skill, the history of this organization, and the fandom that they've acquired over the years, with LNG coming in first, and people like Flande leading the way, people like SofM and Asura, Plex joining the team. This was the snake of old, with, yes, highlighting the core player that has not missed a game. Flande, since its inception into the LPL, has not missed a single game on LNG. He's never been sick. He's never sat out. He is the rich history behind this organization. And when we look at LNG, we're reminded that today they have to put on a showman's performance against RNG. Hello and welcome back to the LPL. My name's Xiahu, joined by Mr. Clement Chu here as always. Question mark there, but Clement, it's good to have you here amidst a day that will be remembered.
This is incredibly spicy because all 4 teams playing today are within that top 8 spot of playoff contention. We have RNG and FPX, 2 of the hottest teams, and then EDG and LNG, who used to be in the same buildings, brothers, but now are struggling to find themselves, to establish themselves solidly within that block in playoffs as well.
The big teams coming up today. Before we get there, though, let's quickly touch on what we missed out, because yesterday was the only non-English day we have left, Clement, and it was some pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, this was the first day we saw the debut of 9.14 in the LPL, and it was a slow opener series. BLG took it with the Corki and the Azir play. We saw some Poppy as well, and in the second series, some good wake-up to those support nerfs. I mean, a Bard coming back from Lumao. This was really fun to watch.
I just love that Max also pulled out the volley bear, but 0-3, you know,
we don't talk about it.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe we'll see one today, Clement. Who knows? Let's go into the LPL Summer Standings. At the moment, we're looking at our teams and we're saying, okay, expectations are there with our top 8 teams entering in today, but you look at JDG and you're saying, okay, they're coming back on the rise.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely something to look out for. They were the finalists last time around in Spring Split. Another 2 teams I would definitely mention are RNG and Suning. They're starting to heat up into invincibility status behind their star mid laners. Angel and Xiahu have been the hottest players in the past week.
I just look at this, and at the end of week 8, I say, hang on. It looks just like spring, where the middle of the pack is not cemented. You don't know that 6th, 7th, and 8th position that's going to be filled for playoffs.
Yeah, it's very difficult. However, on the bright side, FPX, with that 10th win, if it does come today, could very much clinch themselves.
You pulled that out. That's coming up later. And today, to pick the match of the week, this was hard because EDG FPX, as you mentioned, that is going to be a bloodbath series from Two quicker teams where RNG, LNG, we're expecting more or less the same.
Yeah, it's a lot about those junglers, SofM and Karsa. They had a long history in the past.
Yes.
They played a lot of games against each other. Snake and Flash Wolves were very good scrim partners.
yeah.
So these guys know each other inside and out. I really want to see how they interact, and can LNG pull themselves out of this losing streak that they find
For our
themselves.
very first series, RNG and LNG, as we get into it, you're right. We would normally talk about the junglers here, Karsa, SofM. But for once, we're not, and for good reason. There has been a standout player that's rising up. A name in 2018, I know a global audience would have been like, it's a tank Sion mid. It's the standard Xiahu, who we're mentioning here. But he's changed, and he's looking better than ever.
Xiahu is looking like a demigod on the league. His name means Little Tiger, and he's really showing up as such. He's been, I would say, the best player in the mid lane in the past few weeks. His performances, absolutely amazing. 10.3 KDA, the highest of any mid laner in that same stretch. And a lot of it is about his early game as well. He's actually playing a carry aggressive style, dealing damage, and putting his role on the map. That's very different from the kind of just passive, shove the lane out, and try to roam bot lane. He is a legitimate carry, the main carry for RNG.
Because again, to the global audience out there, I say, you know this team because of Uzi, because RNG is all about Uzi. Well, this man stepping up, and especially against V5, he showed he was the hyper carry you could look towards as well.
And the cool thing is that he's not only getting these solo kills and snowballing his lane, we're seeing a lot of attention from Karsa coming in. You know, MLXG going into retirement, we felt maybe we wouldn't see the same RNG, Xiahu, and MLXG, that type of synergy there. But it's still there with Karsa. It's doing very, very well. And we've seen tremendous work on this Rumble pick. They're actually snowballing him early, and he has a 32 KDA right now on the champion. Great play on it. Very heavy emphasis on getting priority in lane, having Karsa come in early, snowball his lane, and having Xiahu then roam towards the side lanes, and then helping out Uzi.
He just made it look so easy against V5. I mean, it was a good testament to show you that, as you mentioned, like even picks like the Rumble, where many mid laners are starting to look at it seriously, he's leading the charge before we even get to that point.
I just wanted to finish with Uzi is still a big part of this team, but their first step now is actually to get Xiahu going before they go into the bot lane. They're recognizing patterns in the meta, and jungle, mid, I have to say, still has a lot more priority over the bot lane. This is what we've heard from guys like Jinja as well, where they said, like, you know, like the bot lane and support, they don't really feel as far ahead in terms of the meta. It's really more about what happens mid.
And so that's why we talk about mid, and then we got to have a look and say, okay, Xiahu playing at his peak. What is Plex doing over the side of LNG? Because the last series we saw him, he was not in peak performance. He got destroyed by Knight.
Yeah, and I have to say, this is not all on Plex's shoulders. It's just the way that LNG is built. Their side lanes are more about scaling with Asura and Flande. So if Plex does not work out in the mid lane, if he can't contain the enemy mid laner, then there's no one left on the map to do so. So in LNG losses, the enemy mid laner has been massive. Look at those KDAs. 11.5 on Knight, 8.5 on Scout, 8 on Kuro. Plex has to hold the fort down. If he can't do it early, no one is there to save LNG. That's the big thing that we're looking for in this matchup, because it's a perfect storm that looks to be going in Xiahu's favor.
I love that. If Plex falls, they all fall. And I love the Z in eyes there as well. It's like all eyes are on him because it's rough. It needs to be rough around the edges, and we had a lot of hopes for Plex coming into the LPL. He's fulfilled that, but against RNG it's going to be a much bigger move. So then it begs the question, is LNG going as far as we thought they were going to go originally? And exactly where does this team stop growing, and where do they sit for playoffs?
I think they're a team that's going to be very close between 8th and 9th place. Their biggest competitors right now are probably JD Gaming and Suning ahead of them. And the fun thing is that it's going to come down to the very last match of the split, when Suning finally face LNG. Now, my own predictions is that Suning's probably going to inch out ahead in their current performance and go 9 wins, while LNG are in 8. So that's still really a toss-up if LNG are actually going to make it into playoffs, or are they going to be overtaken by the likes of JD?
The fact is they're in the discussion nonetheless. As they enter the stage, let's go through the roster. I said he's never missed a game. It's Flande, SofM, Plex in the mid lane, Asura, AD carry, and Duan, our Bard main, in the support.
Ooh, Bard is going to be so fun. 40 extra HP gifted to him in the 9.14 patch.
Play ball Bard.
Lumal's loving it. Duan's loving it. I'm sure we're going to see more of that.
But hey, we've got an interesting support over in RNG as well. Played Sejuani in his last series support. Let's go through the roster you should know. In the top lane, it's Langx, previously Xiahu from Suning. Karsa in jungle, Xiahu in the mid lane, who's on a tear, Uzi and Ming support, and State standing beside them.
3 players retiring from the roster this split, and no changes to the starting lineup. They've always ran the same 5 people, and they will look to finish with this entire lineup. It's been incredibly consistent and heating up after Rift Rivals.
Yeah, the consistency's helped people like Xiahu, who are so hot topic on at the moment. Karsa takes his seat, and I know we're going to be talking a lot more about the jungle matchup as well. But as we take a look at these 2 teams with a new patch, with an identity that's cemented towards the end of the split, this will be a question as to what actually changes here in this matchup and how they try to expose each other's weaknesses.
So the main thing we're looking at is still the mid-jungle interactions, because LNG, for me, they either thrive off of it or they're completely decimated off of it. LNG play a very stock standard style, which is they have a lot of silent split pushing from Flande in the top side. He's always on something that can scale a little bit later into the game. Same with their bot. Asura is mainly Karsa and Ezreal as his favorite picks. So if you're looking at LNG, they want to start off slow, have something to scale toward, but they really need their mid and jungle to cover them early. On the flip side, I think RNG tries to punish super hard. Their mid and bot lane really try to push the tempo.
Well, you're going to see how Karsa can do that as we get a closer look.
我在 LPL 这段时间，我对他评价一直都是很高的，因为我感觉他是整个 LPL 打野里面在地图控制里面做的最好的一个打野，就是他玩法也是一直都很聪明，然后操作也一直维持在很不错的水平上。 所以我感觉我跟他的话，1打1在野区应该占不到什么便宜。
That's very fair. I mean, dangerous jungler and well known in the LPL, especially for his Lee Sin. It's great that respect is shown here from Karsa, who people have called the best jungler in the LPL at the moment, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup. Now, SofM has consistently had the highest experience lead throughout multiple splits now. Ever since I came to the LPL, that has been the case, and it's been that way for 4 splits so far. On the other hand, Karsa has always had the highest kills at 15.
Yes.
So you can see the difference here. We call SofM more of the thief. You only notice his presence when you notice your camps are missing. It's like, who took this one? I don't think it was one of my teammates. Right? Who was here before? They have very different styles. While SofM is more sneaky, and Karsa is much more in your face. He's willing to establish control just on his 1v1 potential to keep his lane safe. And that's what I'm looking for in this matchup as well. If Karsa can keep tabs on SofM, then I feel like it goes in Karsa's favor. But if it's the other way around, I actually feel like the game slightly favors SofM, where he gets to scale up a little bit more.
Well, then we can talk about how mid is influenced by that and how Plex can actually take this to his advantage. Now, you mentioned similar playstyles for the junglers. Or, sorry, different playstyles. I was going to say similar champion pool for the junglers. Rek'Sai, Sejuani, Lee Sin. These, I would say, are our best 2 Lee Sin players in the LPL, Clement.
Ooh, both of them are really well known. In fact, SofM was first discovered when he started playing a Lee Sin with a very high ping, connecting from Vietnam to Korea, and then getting within the top 10 of Korean Challenger.
How do you kick Flash on 200 ping?
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't 200, but it was around the 90, 100 ping mark, and that's why everyone was like, wait a minute, how is this guy doing it?
He's playing with the lag. It's working. But you're right. I mean, like, that was the commitment of SofM, right? And that's how we started to discover that this player was someone not to be trifled with.
And for the rest of the map, I'm really interested in the champions that Plex then takes out. You were talking about the mid matchup. I agree that one's going to be super influential. What we've seen LNG trying to do is just go for the blind pick of Zir. But what happens is that the entire team actually just plays slow. And they get outpaced out of the map.
And
so
we saw that against Top Esports, right?
Exactly.
Like, Knight played into it. The Zoe first game was a great example of how Plex couldn't play that style, and RNG will be more or less the same.
So I really think that Plex is going to be grasping for something that can snowball. I think his style is much more rooted in kind of the just kill lane and control map, that type of a much more straightforward style, I would say. That's his best. We saw the Sylas and Rek'Sai really be the bread and butter for LNG most of the split. I think they're still going to try and gravitate towards that, while RNG we might see some more interesting stuff.
Well, this is our match of the week, though, Clement, and it begins. We're finally here as coaches take to the stage. Now, remember, this is a public service announcement for you all. Mordekaiser, Jace, and Talia globally banned. We're in 9-14. There is no exception here in the LPL. So, with the new patch, with the banaways, let's see what actually makes its priority known here as we go into the new patch.
Yeah, a lot of stuff unfortunately taken away on the table because of performance issues that they were causing players. Now, talking about the picks, Sylas actually still has the highest appearance rate of all champions, despite the nerfs to his ultimate. Laning strength has actually been up, so I'm not surprised to see Sylas taken away. Also, is Plex's main champion.
Yeah, it really is. And it'll also be interesting to see what first pickable now sits up there, because Aurelia's banned away. They can't pick up Jace. Yeah, that's right. Support pickups still there in the Yuumi.
Yeah, the Yuumi nerfs I don't think are that severe. I think it's more of a skill expression type of change to the champion. If you land your Qs, you actually do more damage, but if you don't land them, you waste more mana. That's pretty much the difference.
That's like any champion, right? So
yeah, but you have to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So I don't think the Yuumi changes actually hurt her in pro play. In fact, for anything, I think good Yuumi players are going to welcome the changes. Yep. So Ming is stepping up and saying, I'm a good Yuumi player. Still first pick.
He's a fantastic one, has shown it so far. But Karsa, of course, is still up there now.
Right up onto SofM style. We were talking about the matchup. SofM's more likely to avoid the matchup than take the 1v1 versus Karsa. Don't believe anything Karsa said in the SOT. He's actually looking for the 1v1.
Confident. Yeah, he'll take it without a doubt. I'm actually excited to see the Alistar against Ming, who I regarded as the best Alistar in the league. But we were talking about this, Clement. It's the two of the best Lee Sin players in China. It would be a great debut to start off with it.
I really like the Gragas. It's showcasing Karsa's style versus the likes of SofM, and Karsa is much more about getting kills, snowballing his lane. I think Gragas is a great champion to do it.
Okay.
And historically, RNG has also loved the flex potential. Of course, not this game since Yuumi's already selected, but you know that's a very strong looking early game setup for the bot lane, and traditionally that has been the weakness in this matchup for LNG. They haven't been able to stand up to Uzi and Ming.
Yeah, Asura and Duan been suffering under that pressure, so for Uzi and Ming, the Lucian Yuumi lane. That's a strong start here, and one that we've seen abused nicely. RNG set up for their bottom lane in game one, and look at Asura. It's back over to the Karsa again.
No surprises here. Asura is your late game hyper carry. He does deal the most damage on this team, and we did say that LNG overall pacing-wise are a slower team. Now, if you look at their ban pick strategy, however, this time they do have a very strong counter pick saved up for Plex, and that's a big question that we were asking. What is Plex going to play? We saw his style in the past. It's always about killing his lane, and Qiyana is still open. So I'm actually expecting him to gravitate toward that. I really think that they still want to have a say in the early game, even though it's a Karthus that might not work that well with the Qiyana. I still think there's some potential there for Plex to play it.
Because look, they already banned our the Corki, so if we're thinking Azira's worst case scenario, then we'll probably see it. Aatrox was banned in the second phase by RNG, so we're getting away a lot of those flex mid to top laners where in the LPL we don't have set lanes. Anyone can swap over, and Aatrox is the champion to do it, even with the nerfed ultimate.
We have seen RNG do it. LNG so far is stuck to their lanes, but there's no saying when they could...
Anytime now, Clement, anytime.
The interesting thing here is LNG is actually taking away most of the safe blind pick top laners, so instead of Plex being the one getting the counter pick, we might actually see Flande, the traditional carry from them, getting it. So they're setting themselves up for more of a 4-1 style, I would say. They have their wave clear complete. The Karthus is great for that, and they might save their picks, just hide their picks, wait to see what Langx is picking, and then get something for Flande. But as I say that,
but remember, it still can be flex. I mean, Plex can flex with the Renekton. And 10 seconds to find this one locked in, because Langx often has picked this up on the weak side of the map. RNG leave him on an island, and this has been his go-to. Taking it away is an even bigger stab against the team.
Yes, and you can see their bans were targeting this as well. Kennen and the Gangplank actually have pretty decent matchups up against the Renekton. Now this patch, we do have to mention that Renekton with his Ruthless Predator can take away shields, completely destroy shielding.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's pretty significant.
You have to remember that. You can't pick those shielding champions into him and expect to be fine. We are going to see the Vladimir selected, but this could still go into either lanes. Typically, it's more been for the top lane this season.
But Xiahu is a fantastic Vladimir.
Yes. So what Xiahu can do is take the Vladimir and go top.
Yeah.
That's still something that is possible. We'll have to see until the final selection here.
Because so far, I see, the crowd control coming out of Gragas. I see the Qiyana. I'm like, hell yes.
Oh, wow. I just love that bottom side of the map for RNG. There's so much pick potential here.
What are LNG going to do here, Clement? Because you see Kiana, do you go for the assassin v assassin?
This is going to be fun. If he actually selects that, I don't think that's a bad matchup. The range advantage you have over Kiana with the Razor Shurikens.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate it.
Oh.
This is why, because yesterday from V5 out of Windy, we saw the Z again. I thought maybe the LPL just loves this and we're making a transition, but no. Even more exciting though is if that's an Akali on Flande, this was his best champion and he hasn't picked it up in a while.
Yes, Akali in the recent patches, the general gist of it is that survivability has been lowered. Op security is no longer a thing. It's just pure invisibility now.
Yes.
So you can be spotted with true sight. And the damage is higher. You deal more damage, but there's less time to maneuver when you're in the Twilight Shroud. So this fits him. This fits Flande's style as a split pusher. He's going to be able to get more done in the side lanes, while you're going to have someone that's more stable like the Renekton matchup in the mid lane.
Plus also, remember, we saw Langx on the Vladimir, so there's a lot of kill threat there with the Akali. You wait for that Sanguine pull to go down and like the 100-0 is there, especially since Morel and Omicron usually comes into the build, so let's see how this develops, because a top side set up nicely, but when we came into this matchup, Clement, where were we looking? Jungle v jungle, mid v mid. And you have a Renekton in the mid lane here for RNG. For LNG.
Yeah, that was a very decent matchup from them. Renekton really doesn't lose many matchups. We haven't seen Renekton default in lane ever. So that's something steady that Plex has picked up from himself. We were talking about mid lane is extremely important for this team. They love to scale. They're more of a split push and then collapse into team fight type of team from LNG. So getting the Karsa really important. Getting a split pusher like Akali fits right up their alley. They've got everything they wanted. It's just about holding down the fort between Karthus and Renekton.
Yeah.
If those two can hold down the early game, then LNG have a great composition. But for RNG, they have a lot of snowball potential, especially on that bot side. So much crowd control between Gragas and Kiana.
And also the mid can roam. Kiana has been a great roamer. Mobility rush, lethality. A dangerous mid lane champion. Xiahu showing his forte again. He's had such great series leading up to this. And in our match of the week, eyes will be on him to see if he can force out and put RNG in the lead once again, going into game one.
Remember, we don't get the chance from the Beijing
So why
Arena.
not, Clement? What happened, you know? The crowd is there. Now, there's a couple of empty seats. I know they'll fill out by the time we get in game two, but while the crowd pretends to be going, we can actually just have a quick chat about this, because before we go into runes and everything, people out there need to know that RNG are leading up to that 2018 summer form. The 2018 where RNG were expected going into Worlds to be the heavy favorite. RNG right now, they're leading up to another strong summer split. We're 7-1. They've played the least games, but the only loss to FPX, and you're saying, wow, they're in form.
This is the cleanest regular split we've seen from RNG. RNG typically, they're experimental. They drop a couple games here and there to teams they aren't supposed to. But this split, it's been all business. They're hovering over 82% win rate. Only dropped a couple of games to FPX.
3 in total, if you count the one to LGD.
So you can see that they're really shaping up. The entire team has a laser focus, and I think this split, something that's also helped their win rate is that they've had no substitutions whatsoever.
Yeah, Langx coming in has been a really strong addition. I mean, the issue with Amazing J last split and changing
Spring
out.
split, they had 3 people in the top lane.
Yep.
You didn't know who was going to playing the next series. So this has really benefited their team in terms of consistency.
Whereas for LNG, we were talking a lot about how this team's developing going into playoffs. For this team, you know, there's a lot of questions. They've got a bit of a hard matchup. Schedule coming soon.
And LNG are just trying to find their positioning in the new meta, I would say. Like, they're not a traditional 1-3-1 team, which is kind of weird, basically. Their solo lanes don't really heat up until much later, and they're also not a traditional teamfight team. So they're kind of we call them the flank and shank team, and they're very rare in terms of how they play the game out, what they decide to do. They're very slow paced, but very explosive in team fights. But at the same time, they don't have the usual finish like a G2, where they're just like, we're going to 1-3-1 push. They still rely on the team fights a lot. So they're figuring out their picks, is what I would say. They need something very strong early in their mid and jungle, but at the same time, their bot and side lanes are still going to go very late into the game.
I mean, Asura and Duan are showing that here in this game one, right? Like Uzi and Ming, Shove's already here in this bottom lane, CS advantage, while SofM concentrates his efforts towards the top side and towards mid. After picking up the Scuttle Crab, he moves there, and with the Dark Harvest Karthus, he wants something here out of Xiahu, but Plex just auto-attacks. He presses W a little bit too late.
Yeah, really good awareness coming in from Xiahu, and I have to say that this is also great warding from LNG early on. They spotted Gragas as he was going around his Raptor camp, so there was no danger in that gank whatsoever coming in from Karsa.
Yeah. So let's take a step back, Clever, because we didn't get to talk about the compositions too much and what happens here, because for RNG, as you mentioned, a lot of momentum on the snowballing and a lot of momentum on what happens in this lane.
Yeah, I think RNG have a very snowball-oriented composition, like you were mentioning. It's mainly revolving around what type of ganks the Gragas can get early. There's a lot of good setups here. Gragas into Yuumi, Lucian burst damage early with press the attack. Yep. It's very powerful. Also him with Kiana is something I really want to see, because the amount of damage you can get down in that combo, and there's basically a triple stun there with the body slam. The Ixtal with River Element into the ultimate
final chapter, right?
As well
so if the Yuumi's with you.
What I'm mainly trying to see is if the first game can start to snowball the lanes. I believe that
he was spotted. Yeah, he was spotted. Sorry, Clever, continue.
So it's really going to depend on that first gank, if he can get a flash out of the lane and just kind of repeat gank and then use the mobility between the lanes to create chaos on LNG. And what LNG want to do is they just want to hide their jungle. They're okay if you take a couple of turret platings. That's totally fine from them. They just don't want to give up kills. Okay.
Well, at least in this mid lane, they should be fine, because the Renekton into Kiana, remember, melee matchup, and Renekton has been fine with that, considering that he also has the Ignite. It's 2 Ignites in the mid lane. We get a small break from League of Teleport this game, Clement.
Oh, thank God.
In one portion. I mean, like, we still got top laners, 80 carries.
I love Ignite.
But two, you know what? 2 a team, I'm fine with that. Karsa's going to find SofM here in the jungle, and Karsa's being very disruptive. Even picked up the big Raptor. That's also because Plex had the shove, and Xiahu had to back early.
Yeah, but I have to say Karsa's been doing a good job keeping up with the Karthus. He's actually ahead in terms of the EXP, as we just saw when SofM was taking away the camp. So doing a good job there, just making sure that he's still keeping up. A lot of times we see Karthus is picked in pro play because he can run away with games. If you just sit him down and let him scale the entire game, he will outscale your jungler.
Flawless was a great example of that the other week. And for SofM, trying to get to that point, well, sits with LNG's win condition, and for Karsa trying to disrupt that, Xiaohu moves to the topside river in a 2v2 in effect. But level 6 now hit for Xiaohu, and that means that Supreme Display of Talent is available. Flande coming down as well, so he has priority in lane, meaning the topside river is still dangerous.
A really good roam coming in from Flande, but Karsa does expend the smite just to make sure he gets Scuttle. Keeps relatively even towards the Karthus, and it looks like the breaking point will be this bot lane. You can see one turret plating already going down. LNG cannot survive in this lane. They're not supposed to without jungle interference. So if RNG can just make sure they control this side of the map, make sure that SofM can't get into this quadrant, then they have they should be able to start moving their bot lane around the 13-minute mark.
I mean, that's why this blue buff invade is so important, because LNG towards the top side, yes, they will have priority. Yes, SofM has ultimate now, but with Karsa down towards the bottom side, the dive, the ultimate there are going to be there for Karsa soon. That means dangerous now for Asura, who's just burnt teleport to get back in this lane that he's over 20 CS.
Yeah, that's something that was destined to happen once the matchup showed. And you can see that Asura, even with the Alistar pick, you were thinking, oh, maybe they're going to go with something more aggressive. But no, that Alistar is purely for anti-dive. It's like, please don't dive us. Let Asura have his time. We need that 29% damage share coming from our marksmen, so we have to let him scale.
I was just noticing the junglers while you're talking there, Clement. SofM thinking about a timing as perfect execution used. Hema Plague as well, Langx into the same way. Pull the execution's there. He gets the healing just in time. It was a smidgen of damage off from Flande.
Wow, that was sub 100 HP. It was only one auto attack.
Oh, he's coming in. Karsa has flash as well. Look at this. He wants to dive, Clement. Flash for flash. Explosive cast. The Wall of Pain's out as well. And 2 turret shots means Karsa in range. Is Crimson Rush going to be up? SofM, he can't follow up. That was tempo from Karsa.
I love the flash from SofM. That was actually very ambitious, but he got the stack. That's what counts.
That's all that matters. Flashing for a Dark Harvest stack, never seen anything more worth.
Yeah, and Karsa playing that pretty well as well. He knew that he just wanted to get the flash out of Flande, make sure that he wasn't going to be able to put that much pressure onto Langx. It does seem like Vladimir this game is going to be left out to dry. Ooh,
speaking of another flash, yeah, Asura actually might get locked down here as well, but Uzi doesn't want any more of it. Bird to half health is Asura and Duan. Bottom lane continues to escalate, and the junglers are so busy across the rest of the map. RNG like, yeah, that's fine. We'll match you SofM because you know the lane you need to be. And something we have to point out about this bot lane is Uzi did not use his teleport to get back to lane. They are cruising on a pure 16 CS advantage without using their teleports yet. So that one's definitely going to hurt LNG's chances at these Drakes. Fortunately for them, only a Cloud Drake so far. So that's one that I feel like they could still give up. Yeah, I mean, you're like, whatever, you know, at this point, doesn't matter. We'll see what comes up next. As Duan uses flash in the last engage. So it's not going to be up for a while, but Uzi and Ming pushing in. Ming already gets the quest. Yeah, Asura, I don't know what you're going to expect there, but 25 CS down now. RNG pushing in, and Karsa's down here. So any gank that comes through from SofM, it's going to have to be something magical.
Yeah, LNG, the only way they have to play this is really trying to catch someone off in transition. The Renekton and the Karthus have tons of burst damage to do so. However, RNG seems to be playing this pretty safely. Ming putting down a ward up on towards the ledge, so making sure that no one can ambush him from that angle.
Also comes back to the vertical jungling we talked about for that quick hot second, right? Cleared out. Karsa made sure that was nothing in the blue side jungle, and SofM's down here without any camps to revert to. It's Dragon gank, or he has to make the long walk to the top side, or even try to make the invade himself, but Karsa's done a really good job of controlling this jungle early, keeping up, as you mentioned before, and making it so that SofM is actually just not getting much of an advantage.
I like this move from LNG. They're trying to bait RNG into a fight here, where they could potentially find something. Good attempt by Duan. Unfortunately, not close enough.
Dragon's going to go down. Resets as we talked about. It's a mountain that picks up, but Duan backing off as well. Karsa's been spotted out down here too. So it falls back towards the top side of his jungle.
And RNG didn't take the bait. They didn't try to contest that fight. And now they're actually going to run the entire bot side of the map. SofM has to go back and pick up most of his camps. And this should be a clear opportunity for RNG to get at least some turret plating here. Predator already popped.
I mean, Asura has flash, so can he get out? The body slam prepped up. Karsa doesn't have his own. The AD carry trying to back away, but walking next to the turret. Karsa still wants to dive this, so Asura now committing to stick under this.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, one turret plating again taken from RNG. Once that side of the map is cleared up, you know, it's RNG's just going to gain gold.
Because you look at what LNG is saying, right, it's fine. Flande on Akali, the franchise player, is up in the top lane. He'll be able to quell the Vladimir and scale essentially alongside it. And you agree to those conditions if you're LNG, but just how far is it going to go in that bottom lane? As RNG, they move to the top side anyway, and as SofM backs away. Rift Herald will be started here in full vision.
Ooh, but Flande does spot this out. He does have the ward down, so and he also has the priority in lane.
But there's a control ward behind him. He's going to escape. Perfect execution was used. Uzi teleports up, but Rift Herald's being done, remember. This is a common play in the LPL, bottom lane to the top side. This is going to add pressure to secure the objective.
Yeah, and it's a much longer cooldown on perfect execution after the 9.14 patch. Using it defensively means Langx is going to have a free blink check to scale up, so he's already transitioning toward the bot side. This is a complete tempo advantage from RNG. We were talking about how Uzi was able to hold on to his teleport and still maintain that CS lead.
You mentioned it, yeah. Okay, I see what Karsa was trying to do. He missed the wall. It'll go there anyway, but let's look at what this gives, because Uzi is going to get 5 bits of turret plating, it looks like. shared between Ming. He already got so much in the bottom lane. That is ridiculous. Uzi is going to have his 2 items before 20 minutes for sure.
The biggest loser of this tempo trade has to be Flande. He was up in CS in his own lane, but after this, the question is, how does he get farmed safely? He still has to presume that there's 3 people around that top side, so you can see him playing super safe.
Now, you're kind of hateful that Ming took some, but doesn't matter. They got the turret push. They're going to get a bit of damage onto towards the next topside turret. Asura is still trying to trade away with turret plating up and available, but Uzi's here with Ming. Flande doesn't have the ulti to go in, and they're just sitting here taking the turret.
Yeah, and they have to be super careful here. The Yuumi with the AoE final chapter can still kill Flande even through the Twilight Shroud, so they're moving a lot of their pieces towards the top side. RNG, even without vision, do back off just in time.
I mean, they got spotted out. They saw Duan coming through as well for the flank. So it's a smart back timing here from Uzi, who off that picks up a BF sword, a long sword. Yes, it's an Essence Reaver coming second. And this is a Lucian you do not want to mess with. If you haven't seen Uzi in a while, good time to tune in because this will be his game.
Yeah, this is the point where RNG start taking very brazen Drake fights. I feel like they're so far ahead in itemization on the bot side that they can just look for them whenever they want to.
Yep.
Kiana's a great team fighter assassin in those situations as well. Next one is going to be a Mountain Drake. So I really do see RNG putting a lot of resources, a lot of effort to shore that one up.
Yep.
And it's going to be towards LNG on how they want to play with this. Are they going to step up to the contest, or are they just going to say, you know what, we're too far behind, we need to farm a little bit more, and just try to get resources from the lane?
Because at the moment, it's not like the gold is totally outweighed in their favor. Only a 500 gold lead here by RNG, but it's the escalation towards this dragon, as you're mentioning. It's that mid game that RNG have set up from draft. It's how they now play it out with mobility boots and first item on Xiahu as well. A lot of mobility in this team, actually, Clement, and a great way to start these fights in River and start grouping up quicker.
Yeah, and I like their idea for LNG to keep the lanes where they are. What this has done is actually gave Flande a lot of opportunity to extend his CS lead. He was already up by 30 CS in the top lane, and now he's up by 40.
Yeah.
So the move from bot to top from RNG actually didn't stop Flande. That was the big prize that they wanted to get, really making sure that LNG did not have a split pusher. But I like LNG's lane allocations. I felt like they did a very good job here to keep Flande's lead there.
Because he was consistent. He waited for Uzi to disappear on the top side and then appeared back in lane, stayed there. And Langx was down the bottom side by himself for a while. So for Flande, sticking it out, you're right, it's been the best move for him. He was still up towards that top side. He's now backed away with teleport in hand. LNG getting engaged on here by RNG, but Dragon dismayed for now. Let's see if RNG go back and start it up.
This is such a tough fight for LNG to take. The perfect... Oh, okay. Her ultimate always kind of messes me up. The perfect display of talent. A supreme display of talent.
You got there.
Why is it a 4-word
I don't know.
ultimate? Oh
it's the longest. I feel like it's the longest
mouthful.
ultimate in the game. Yeah.
That ultimate in River grants you the auto stun.
Yes.
Which is insane. So you need to be so careful when coming in from this angle, and you can see Xiahu already positioning for the pit.
Oh, but Karsa caught out. He tries to body slam away. That's the Dominus popped, and you can't get yourself the Void Seeker, meaning that LNG, their engage potential's there, and there's a big ulti for Plex not to have in this upcoming fight. Rushmaker there from RNG as well.
Very dangerous situation. I don't think LNG can hang in here. Plex already lost the Dominus,
but look
can
at Duan.
Can Duan do something here?
It was a second away. He was spotted out by the ward onto Uzi. He finds a headbutt. The Dragon goes down, but Duan sacrificing his life. There's a supreme display of talent. They get first blood. It's a late one for the LPL, but RNG now boosted off the momentum. They get the slow. They force the flash out of Plex. They get blood for the Dragon, and LNG still hold on.
And the really big prize for RNG is that no one is left to defend mid. Look at the path that Asura had to take, going around towards his second tower. So even though they lose the Mountain Drake, they will accelerate this game pace just with this objective.
Because mid lane turret going down means RNG can get some of the deeper vision, play towards more of that top side where the inner turret is dangerously low, and give more gold over to Uzi, who's closer towards that second item. So Big leads here for RNG.
I felt like if LNG wanted to play that the way they did, they needed a full commit on the initial stun from Karsa. They had Plex with the stun there to follow up and Flande, but they didn't take that one. Instead, going in here and a perfect execution coming in from Xiahu, just getting the double stun into another final chapter stun. So there was no way that LNG could actually re-engage onto that one after Duan was caught out. And I'd say RNG actually walk away from that engagement slightly more favorable.
I mean, the kill went onto the Vladimir too, so the lane that was down in CS. He's saying, not bad. I've caught up to the Akali. It's exactly what the Vladimir wanted to do, because if we go late, even though RNG, we stated their condition and how they want to play this comp out, it's like that security risk. It's like that, you know, it's your investment fund, right? Langx is that. You get towards 5-6 item Vladimir, and the result's going to be the same as Xiahu has to burn the ulti. There's finally the ulti from SofM. The flash burnt as well. Big solo kill from Flande to bring the game right back.
He didn't lose any HP on that.
He did not. That's Akali with Hextech Gunblade for you.
Complete one-sided trade, and that's one of the things that I was talking about when Qiyana first came on the Rift. Is she suitable as a 1-3-1 champion? No sustain in her kit, and she doesn't itemize for sustain either. And I think we're seeing a good answer here.
Oh, flash immediately burned by SofM. Has a level up, but just doesn't want to take the risk without Requiem.
This is what really happens in a lot of LNG games. You see them falling behind early, but always within striking distance, and then Flande comes out of nowhere. He dominates one of the side lanes and provides that collapse potential into the team fights. Now, let's just watch this. Xiahu does everything he possibly can. Ultimate early, flash use, still dies just to the burst damage. And we have to mention that Qiyana is a champion that does need to snowball. She has very low base damages and very high AD bonus ratios. So if she doesn't get those early kills going, she isn't actually that good of a side lane champion. No sustain in her kit. Will lose to a lot of these semi-bruisers in the likes of Akali. So we're seeing that come into fruition, and the real question is, where does RNG get the value out of this Qiyana pick from now? If she can't contest the lane against the Akali, most likely Xiahu's going to have to roam a lot more and try to find those kills off of the Yuumi and Lucian combination.
I always use it as a comparison to a champion like Talon. Like, if you see a Talon behind, you're like, well, of course there's burst damage on the carries, but what else do they provide? They're not safe in the side lanes because they can't sit in the 1v1. Xiao's going to show us that a little bit more as he goes over the wall, bopped by Duan. Uzi comes in and says, look, you can't do that a second time. Supreme Slave Talon, double stun from Xiahu. The culling secures that SofM only just survives, and that's the beauty of the champion. That's what else it provides. Explosive cast onto Flande, Hema Plague, burn him down. That's right. Your prayers are there. Langx with a 2-0 start in this game, and RNG with 2 kills. The tempo's right back.
A great explosive cast coming in from Karsa, knocking Flande out of the Twilight Shroud where he can be focused down, and not even the triple dashes that Akali is so proud of could save him in that one. So strong performance, strong rebounding from that kill that happened into the bot lane. What they do is they just say, you know what, Xiahu, get out of this lane, let Langx deal with it. He has priority there, and it was a beautiful full map collapse. Look at how much distance Langx covered. Oh, he actually just used the teleport.
That all.
Unfortunate for Duan here, just getting caught off without his flash. Blade of the Ruined King, enough to get him stuck there. And this is unfortunate from Flande as well.
To be fair, though, Duan saved his jungle. I think SofM could have been dead. Supreme Display Talent would have been used anyway. And the difference is maybe 2 instead of 1. So
yeah,
Duan, you're right, does go down in the end. SofM survived, but only by an inch. And this game, while it has been about junglers, more and more it's starting to be about RNG utilizing Xiaohu and his ultimate, getting some of these picks and escalating the game further. 2.5 gold lead now for RNG at 22 minutes.
It's just unfortunate, and something that I always wondered about in the LPL. We see a lot of Kaisas, but in this matchup, she just doesn't do anything early. Like, you get no value out of the Kaisa until she's much more farmed up at this point. And I think that's a good reason why we're seeing the Lucian come this far back into the meta. A lot of people picking him up, excuse me.
And it's funny because, like, Uzi is the Kaisa player. He's the Vayne Kaisa player in the LPL. And even the priority evolution, you can see that Uzi wanted to play this instead.
Yeah. He's also been known as a Lucian abuser.
Yeah, no, he has.
That was exactly how he came back onto the scene.
But You get my point, right? Like
Yeah.
that even when Karsa, you know, still seems like, okay, it's been picked up, we've got to change in builds. Uzi says, no, I want to dominate the laning phase, and that's what he's done this game. And CS being clawed back by Asura, but he's still ahead in farm. He's still ahead in items, I should say, and gold. Towards a Hex Drink, a third item. Uzi is almost unstoppable right now alongside Karsa and Ming.
Yeah, the problem for LNG right now is they can't rotate their bot lane to help these encroachment from RNG from happening. The only piece that they can move is really is Flande, but they need a teleport for that. So I expect these couple of minutes to be very slow from LNG's side. They will quiver around their Raptor brushes and try to defend them from RNG taking them over. But there will come a point where RNG finally pushes their vision out far enough, and with the Blade of the Ruin King on Uzi, just say, you know what, let's just hit the Baron.
Yeah, you're right, because it's that window, right? 23 to 30 minutes, I would say, that RNG now start pushing that activity more. Because we look at the second item picked up here by Xiahu, Langx towards Flande as well. That kill helped him get back in the game so much, and then the second one pushed him to more than even. So Langx's hit his window too. And for RNG, Sidewaves now seem to be under control. Flande here without a teleport. And he's shown on the map, RNG have a timer. They can threaten Baron.
Yeah, instant pings going on the map.
Or just kill SofM. Good flash over the wall. They're actually not going to find him. The flash towards the pit instead of front. That was a great move.
Yeah, that was a really good flash from SofM. Yeah, actually, I believe it was extended distance
Oh,
as
if he
well.
uses the ult though. Could you imagine? Spider sense. Oh, he's out. Okay. That
that
would be
been
a
lucky
great
for
play.
Kiana.
Yeah,
If
it'd be
you're
like
talking about like the supreme
display of talent.
it'd
Yeah,
be-
because you know that would travel around that whole world. Clever.
That's the wall I typically love seeing Kiana's use when it
Yeah?
comes to the Baron play, the red buff wall. It's
Okay.
so huge.
Yeah.
Like that U shape, there's so much surface on that.
I mean, that and the Baron wall, right? Baron wall,
Yeah.
Dragon wall, the red buff. Is blue buff wall that big? I mean, that's
Blue buff
okay as
wall
well.
is massive.
That's bigger than red buff, isn't it? Oh, solo kill time, I think. Yep. That's Requiem out as well. I mean, Plex does that. He's Renekton with 2 items. Xiahu getting caught out.
Great move coming in from Plex. And Kiana is a champion that you can't really contest against these bruisers in solo lane. So no surprise to what happened there. I think Xiahu just face checked that brush and didn't expect Plex.
Yeah, he popped the Dominus. Like I said, he has 2 items. And Renekton's hitting his strides as well. It was impressive that Xiahu got out of lane, keeping up in CS, but not impressive getting solo killed here as, yeah, Plex just in the brush. Instant damage.
That was a single combo. Took him down with the Dominus magic damage on the edges.
You're an assassin, you don't build armor that easily. So, good stuff here from Plex. That's what LNG want to do, breach towards that late game. And Plex was part of that plan, so him getting a kill, slowing down RNG around the Baron, means that this game goes on and now things are getting risky.
There will come a point in time when LNG can actually be the ones that start to get the lead in terms of scaling, get the lead in terms of 1-3-1. So RNG do still have a lot of pressure on them to close it out. And the gold lead hasn't been that far ahead. I think they've been far ahead in terms of the tempo lead, just with how well Lucian's doing. But if they let this game drag, then it slowly goes back into LNG's favor once more.
When we get that Karthus with 3 items, I know he doesn't have a lot of stacks this game with the Dark Harvest, but when he gets 3-4 items, a Requiem's a Requiem, right? And the Kaiser's a Kaiser. You know, say the same about a Kali, who's still on this 2-item mark as well. And LNG been controlling Dragons. This Infernal coming up in 50 seconds, although they can't move away from this area because RNG trying to do it again. And LNG can't be caught with their pants down.
Yep, RNG popping the Predators, but they don't find any good targets here. Just 2 tanks in the front line. So they back off, and LNG still hold on to this ring of vision.
Yeah, you were mentioning before that RNG need to impeach and get deeper towards the vision so that they can set up towards this Baron. They're going to start it now anyway, but this is risky.
This is the red wall we were talking about. That big chunk of terrain is going to offer him so many stuns.
There's 4 there. He has been spotted out, but he's still moving around. RNG pull off the Baron, and Xiahu won't have to ult just yet.
Oh, I wanted to see it actually happen. I felt like RNG actually had very good sustain there.
Oh, you might find it somewhere else. That's a E forward here from Xiahu. Flande tags him as well with the Shuriken flip, and Uzi now joins the fight.
LNG should be focusing all of their damage onto Uzi, so...
Careful, the supreme
Never
display
mind.
of talent gets 4! That's why I said be careful! Requiem's going to come out, but they're already a man down. The damage is not there. Asura ults in immediately, but the Sangwon pull into the Hemo Plague. Asura has to run for his life as Langx flashes on top. The rest of RNG take the mid fight, and they run to their deaths. That was Xiaohu's highlight reel, turned into Langxing's Hemo Plague.
Wow, that was such a good ultimate coming in from the Qiyana, and they get the perfect
A great way to
here.
finish. Now that's going to be the game, Clement, because nothing's standing in their way.
LNG had the right idea. They went back and tried to snipe off Uzi, but the flash from Plex just a little bit too late. And Uzi is able to retreat. Langxing finish off the entire back line. RNG find themselves a strong team fight
And for
finish.
once in the LPL, granted it's match of the week, but it was a slower paced game. There's a lot more methodical, a lot more thinking here involved. As LNG try to defend their game, no, Clement, it's over. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah,
Uzi's going to end it. He's going to destroy SofM on the way out. And the methodical game comes to a close with RNG victors in under 30 minutes.
A great flank coming in from RNG. They found SofM on the right side, great follow-up, and then they defended Uzi when LNG finally decided that they needed to strike back and defend their own Baron. So all in all, we're seeing the strengths of RNG, the compositional advantages that they have found themselves in this meta. Now 9.14 is supposed to be a slower meta, lots of Azirs, lots of Corkies, but there's still a way to play it the way RNG likes it.
Like we said, you know, slower pace, sure. Look at that dip in the end. That's when RNG had enough, Clement. They're fed up with it.
That was basically just one team fight. The rest of it I felt was just normal laning phase.
Yep.
You expect that to come out of just from the ban picks, but afterwards that team fight was truly the cherry on top, and shows you why RNG still likes to play this style. Now, RNG play a much more early game aggressive style compared to previous splits where they were all banking on Uzi. This time around they have a lot more pieces. They've given Xiahu a lot more freedom to do as he please in terms of the drafting, and it's paying off wonderfully. I really like their compositions, priority, a lot of crowd control that they can layer there, and LNG really need to change. I like their mid lane pick in the Renekton. It was a good idea. It kept Xiahu down throughout most of this game, but I still have a lot of questions on their bot side. I don't think their bot side can continue to stick onto this style where, like, Karsa Ezreal, just give me these two picks. We're not going to control the lane.
Yeah. It was rough because, you know, that lane constantly pushed in, and while Flande was having a good side top, the trade wasn't worth the, you know, the risk wasn't worth the reward, essentially. So that was tough there from LNG, but they're starting to get punished more and more. That's why we asked the question, is this team going to make the journey? Is this team going to, you said, even hit playoffs? I mean, I think they could, but how far are they going to go? Constantly being punished like this, teams like BLG have started to adapt. LNG need to as well.
LNG in the previous patches, they actually played even slower than they did. 37 minutes of game time. They just didn't hit the go button whatsoever.
They
in the
were
early
4
game.
minutes slower than the next slowest team.
Yes.
Like, that was saying something as well. Over 30 minutes is enough in the LPL. The 38-minute average is just a big change.
And then they hit the string of teams like FPX, like EDG, like that like to take it to you early. And then you start wondering, can LNG match up against these squads? That's the big question that we have to ask of the Kirin that they have as their new mascot this time around. And if they can, what is their answer? From my perspective, their bot lane needs to be able to diversify a little bit. Like, currently their champion selection it's way too easy to deal with. You just pick something with priority in the bot lane. You see a lot of Luxes being selected against them, and Duan mainly plays the Nautilus and Alistars. Those are his kind of go-to champions. You just play something that can push the lane and punish at the same time. You take the bot lane priority, and then you try to shut down Flande.
Or you do it to the mid lane as well against Plex. It's like, okay, we can play through multiple avenues. LNG need to shape up against RNG because that game one was the go button, the instant finish. Game one was all theirs. We're going to see if they can do it right after this short break.
那塔姆这个大招应该也不太敢上了。
哎，这个过来赶紧摸人走，这想硬杀 Max， 旁边有个 Zoom 这里 Q 一下给个火输炼，歪风应该要被拉回来，赶紧吃一口要保一下，但是这里开一个大招，直接一斩掉了塔姆，后面交了一个诸神黄昏，这边奥拉夫是往塔下走，但是其他队友闪现一个 R 再加闪现的一发平 A Flawless 收掉了金克斯的人头。
你是真杀。